Emeka entered the girl's room, his face filled with anger. "What were you girls thinking?" he yelled, his voice echoing off the walls. Zara and Mara looked at each other, feeling guilty and scared. Emeka walked around the room, unplugging their video games console and seizing some of their toys. "Both of you are grounded," he said. "No games, no toys, no plays. The house must be cleaned every day before I wake up." Zara and Mara were shocked by the severity of the punishment. Once upon a time, in a big city, there lived a young man named Emeka. He lived with his parents, Chief and Mrs. Ernest. Emeka's parents were very important people in their village. They were respected for their love for culture and traditions. When Emeka turned 19, he met a lovely young girl named Tiwa. Tiwa was the youngest daughter of Chief Badmus, and she was just 17 years old. Emeka and Tiwa both went to the same university, and that's where their love story began. Even though Emeka was just 2 years older than Tiwa, he helped her with her studies, especially with her science projects. They were both from rich families, so they had everything they needed. But there was one problem. Their parents might not approve of their relationship because they both came from different tribes. Despite this, Emeka and Tiwa's love grew stronger. Emeka graduated first and started working in his father's company. Tiwa graduated 2 years later and began working with her own father. One day, Emeka and Tiwa decided to talk about settling down. But they both knew it wouldn't be easy because of their different backgrounds. Emeka finally gathered the courage to tell his parents about Tiwa. At first, they were excited until they heard that she was from a different tribe. They didn't approve, but Emeka stood his ground. Tiwa faced the same challenge when she told her parents about Emeka. They compared her to her older siblings who had married from their tribe. Tiwa was sad, but her love for Emeka never wavered. Despite their parents' disapproval, Emeka and Tiwa continued to see each other. They remembered their school days and laughed at each other's jokes, but convincing their parents seemed impossible. Emeka's parents refused to change their minds, and Tiwa's parents warned her not to see Emeka again. They had told her to stay off from him, but Emeka and Tiwa's love was strong and they were determined to stay together. Emeka and Tiwa's love story took a tragic turn when Tiwa found out she was pregnant. Emeka stood by her side, promising to support her through it all. But when Tiwa's mother discovered her pregnancy, she was furious. Tiwa barely revealed that Emeka was the father, and her parents already kicked her out of the house. Emeka's parents reacted the same way when they found out about the pregnancy. They turned their backs on Emeka and Tiwa, leaving them with nowhere to go. Despite the challenges, Emeka and Tiwa decided to face them together. Emeka and Tiwa got married in a simple church ceremony and started their life together. Though they weren't wealthy, but Tiwa and Emeka lived happily. Tiwa's pregnancy brought a lot of complications, and Emeka worried for her every single day. He did everything he could to make her comfortable and happy. As Tiwa's due date approached, Emeka's excitement grew, but their joy turned to sorrow when Tiwa passed away shortly after giving birth to twin baby girls. Emeka was devastated, feeling like his world had crumbled around him. Tiwa's parents blamed Emeka for her death and held him responsible. They arrested him, but however, after investigations were carried out, Emeka was released when it was determined that Tiwa's passing was due to pregnancy complications. Emeka was left to care for their newborn daughters and arrange Tiwa's burial. The pain of losing Tiwa was overwhelming for Emeka. He struggled to cope, often crying alone or seeking solace in alcohol. His friend Chuks stood by him, offering words of encouragement and reminding him of the bright spot in his life, which was their twin daughters. It took Emeka a very long time to accept that Tiwa was gone. He found strength in his daughters, knowing that he needed to be there for them. Emeka faced insults and rejection from both his parents and Tiwa's parents. They blamed him for everything, even though it wasn't his fault. It hurt Emeka deeply, but he stayed strong for his twin baby girls. Raising the girls on his own was not easy at all for Emeka. He had to juggle taking care of them and running his own company. Some days, he would wake up early to feed the girls, change their diapers, and get them ready for the day. Then he would rush to his office where he had meetings, emails to respond to, and projects to manage. Emeka's friend, Chuks, was always there for him. He offered support and encouragement, helping Emeka through the tough times. Whenever Emeka felt down, Chuks would lift his spirit and remind him that he was not alone. Emeka missed Tiwa so dearly. He couldn't hide the fact that he was so lonely. Emeka's secretary, Michelle, also played a big role in Emeka's life. She understood his situation and often brought work home for him when he couldn't make it to the office. Michelle's help allowed Emeka to focus on the girls while still managing his company. Despite the challenges, Emeka found joy in spending time with his daughters. He cherished every moment with them, watching them grow gradually. He would play with them and sing them lullabies. Emeka also made sure to take care of himself. He knew that he had to stay healthy and strong for his girls. He would go for walks, exercise, and eat balanced meal. In all of this, he had to pay bills, manage household chores, and make important decisions about the girls' future. Because of the love Emeka had for Tiwa and his fear for leaving the girls with strangers, Emeka did not allow anyone come to the house or employ a live-in maid. Emeka focused on being the best father he could be and finding happiness in the little moments shared with his precious little daughters. And with Chuks and Michelle by his side, he knew he would handle whatever came his way. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. Before Emeka knew it, his twin daughters, Zara and Mara, had turned 7. They were growing up to be smart, beautiful, and caring girls, just like their mother. The girls reminded Emeka so much of their mother that he couldn't help but still missed her very much. Emeka loved his daughters dearly and made sure they had everything they needed. But as the girls grew older, they began to ask more questions about their birth mother. Emeka knew he couldn't keep the truth from them any longer, so he showed them pictures of their mother and told them about what had happened years ago. Zara and Mara were sad to learn about their mother's passing, but they were grateful to have such a supportive dad like Emeka, and embraced the love of their father. Emeka's friend, Chuks, was so proud of how Emeka had come. He enjoyed spending time with Zara and Mara, playing games and sharing laughs with them whenever he visited. Michelle, who had been Emeka's loyal secretary, remained a pillar of support in his life. Although she was no longer his secretary, but she still held a high position in his office. Michelle cared for the girls deeply, but sometimes Mara and Zara felt like she was overstepping. Zara and Mara decided they wanted to make Miss Mitchell stop coming over so often. They devised a mischievous plan to hide her wig while she visited. The next day, when Michelle came over to check on the girls and drop off some documents for Emeka, they put their plan into action. As Michelle sat watching TV, she suddenly grabbed her belly in pain. She rushed to the bathroom, leaving her shoes and wig behind. Zara and Mara silently high-fived each other and quickly hid Michelle's wig in a bowl of water. When Emeka came downstairs and asked about Michelle, the girls pointed to the bathroom. Then Michelle came out, sweating and without her wig, to find all three of them staring at her. She felt embarrassed and couldn't find her wig. The girls pretended that they didn't know it was hers and claimed they thought it was alive. As Michelle angrily stormed out, Emeka sighed in disappointment. The girls ran off to their room, feeling a mixture of guilt and excitement over their prank. Emeka entered the girls' room, his face filled with anger. "What were you guys thinking?" he yelled, his voice echoing off the walls. Zara and Mara looked at each other, feeling guilty and scared. Emeka walked around the room, unplugging their video games console and seizing some of their toys. "Both of you are grounded," he said. "No games, no toys, no plays. The house must be cleaned every day before I wake up." Zara and Mara were shocked by the severity of the punishment. "We are sorry, Dad," they whispered, their voices filled with regret. Emeka's expression softened slightly, but he remained stern. "You must write 1,000 lines of 'I am sorry, Miss Michelle' and an apology letter before today ends," he instructed before storming out of their room. Feeling remorseful, the girls blamed themselves for their actions. They knew they had crossed the line and hurt someone who had always been kind to them. The following day at the office, Emeka invited Michelle over to his place to make amends, but Michelle refused, still feeling hurt by the girls' behavior. Emeka apologized on behalf of his daughters and assured her that it wouldn't happen again. He explained that this time it was the girls who wanted to see her. However, Michelle hesitated, feeling unwelcome. Determined to make things right, Emeka picked the girls up from school the next day and brought them to meet Michelle. Zara and Mara apologized sincerely for their nasty behavior and handed Michelle the written apology. After reading it, Michelle accepted their apology and forgave them. When they asked if she would come over again, Michelle promised to check her schedule and get back to them. That night, as they sat around the dinner table, Mara and Zara approached their dad with serious expressions. "Dad, we want to talk to you," Mara began, her voice determined. Emeka listened attentively as they asked him if he liked Miss Mitchell. He was surprised by their questions, but quickly reassured them that Mitchell was just a supportive employee who had been a great help to him and his organization. Then Zara spoke up, reminding their dad that he couldn't share their love with anyone else. Emeka smiled at his daughter's words, marveling at how grown they were becoming. He hugged them tightly, feeling grateful for their love and understanding. Days went by, and Michelle's visits to Emeka's house became less frequent. Despite this, she still cared deeply for Zara and Mara. She would often call them to check on them and make sure they were doing well. One sunny afternoon, Zara and Mara were alone in the house. They decided to make themselves some food, but disaster struck when Zara accidentally cut herself with a knife. Mara panicked and tried to call their dad, but he wasn't answering his phone. In a moment of desperation, Mara dialed Michelle's number. Without hesitation, Michelle rushed over to their house and quickly assessed the situation. Seeing that Zara needed medical attention, she took her to the hospital, ensuring that she was well taken care of. Zara and Mara explained what had happened, feeling guilty for not calling their dad or Michelle sooner. At the hospital, Michelle stayed by Zara's side, comforting her and making sure she had received the care she needed. She then returned home with the girls, cooked dinner for them and for Emeka, and helped them shower and get ready for bed. When Emeka finally returned home, he was surprised to see Michelle there. Taking care of everything, he thanked her profusely for her help and her kindness. Despite Michelle's insistence on leaving, Emeka persuaded her to stay, knowing it was already late. As they spent some more time together, Emeka couldn't help but notice how amazing Michelle was. He realized that he had feelings for her all along. The next day, Michelle came over to check on Zara and see how she was healing. The girls noticed their dad stealing glances at Michelle and decided to play matchmakers. Mara faked a cry, which made Michelle and Emeka rush into their room. But instead of finding the girls in distress, they found themselves locked inside. Emeka and Michelle tried to persuade the girls to let them out, but the girls giggled mischievously and refused. Alone together in the room, Emeka poured out his feelings to Michelle, confessing that he had fallen deep for her. Michelle admitted that she felt the same way, but expressed concern about whether the girls would accept her as their mother figure. Emeka reassured her, knowing that the girls had orchestrated the whole situation. Just as they shared a tender moment and were about to kiss, Zara and Mara burst into the room, hugging them excitedly. Amidst laughter and hugs, Emeka and Michelle's story began, with Zara and Mara playing a mischievous but ultimately heartwarming role in bringing Michelle and their dad together. As the days passed, Zara and Mara grew more close to Michelle, appreciating all the love and care she showered upon them. They were grateful for everything she did, from helping them with their homework to cooking for them to reading them bedtime stories and comforting them at their lowest. Michelle became an integral part of their family, joining Emeka and the girls on outings and family dinners. Her presence brought joy and laughter into their home, and Zara and Mara couldn't imagine their lives without Michelle. Emeka and Michelle's relationship blossomed, and they remained deeply in love. They supported each other through ups and downs, building a strong foundation for their future. Chooks was overjoyed to see his friend find happiness with Michelle. He celebrated their love and cheered them on every step of the way. Emeka still cherished the memories of Tiwa, but he knew he had to move on with the girls and was happy he found someone who loved them like they were her kids. With hearts full of gratitude and love, Emeka and Michelle got married and lived happily together with the girls. The moral of this story is that love knows no bounds, and true happiness comes from embracing those who bring joy into our lives, regardless of how they come into it. Family is not just about blood ties, but also about the bonds we create with those who care for us and support us unconditionally. Thanks for watching this captivating story on African stories and folktales. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories. Thank you.